You're listening to the Flow Theory Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the Flow Theory Podcast, a Southeast Ohio football legend, Donnie Johnson from Gallia Academy. Donnie, 2003 Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. Really, one of the best high school football players I've ever gotten to watch. A dynamic athlete on the football field. In his senior year for Gallia Academy, Donnie had over 1,000 passing yards and over 1,200 rushing yards and 26 total touchdowns for the Gallia Academy Blue Devils. An absolute beast on the football field. Coming out of high school, went on to star for the Tiffin Dragons. Donnie, thanks so much for coming on the show, my man.
Yeah, Wade, man. Appreciate it, man. And definitely like what you're doing, man. And keep it up. And glad to be on the show and appreciate you reaching out, man.
All right, Donnie, we'll get down to it, my man. One of the big parts of this show is to talk to all the athletes about their moments of flow and being in the zone, man. I know you had so many of those moments for the Gallia Academy Blue Devils in Gallipolis, Ohio. Talk to me about your memories of flow in both high school and college. Let's hear about them.
Yeah, man, the flow, man, it's kind of crazy. I talk to people now, being in the professional world and, just people ask me about my playing days. And the funny part about it is, some people just don't get it. And, looking back at it, people will see, hey, I looked up your film and seen da-da-da-da. How'd you do that? And it's just funny, man. Just you get in the zone, and when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. And, I had the option to play college sports, either in football and or basketball. And I always tell people the game of basketball, knowledge-wise, I had more knowledge basketball, but I was able to play football at a higher level. But the knowledge piece of it wasn't always there, or it wasn't there as much as it was with basketball. But football, man, I mean, it was slow motion. I never looked at the guy in front of me. I was always looking at the people around them and setting the guy in front of me up for my success to get around the next level or the next person. And that just carried over into college, where just things slowed down. And it really was. It's like slow motion. And one play in particular, we were playing Gannon, and a guy by the name of James Rankin was just talking so much shit.
Is this at Tiffin, Donnie?
This is at Tiffin. And, I ran into the back of my pulling tackle, and I go heading straight towards a pile, put my head down, just trying to get an extra yard. And next thing you know, I feel somebody from behind me and literally spin out of it. The dude goes diving into the pile, and I pick up 7 more yards because I'm stumbling after. And they're like, how in the world did you see him? And it's just crazy. I'm like, I don't know. I just felt him. And, that's just the type of zone I guess you could get into, is when things slow down for you, man, people are dangerous.
Donnie, one of your famous games in high school that I'll never forget was, it just burned into my brain, the fog game, Gallia Academy versus Athens. The field was absolutely blanketed in fog. You always had a knack for stepping up in the big moments, just with the most pressure. And you just always had a knack for making clutch plays. Talk to me about the fog game. And I remember you stripped the guy, you stripped the ball from him, and then you just took the ball back for a touchdown.
Yeah, man, that game was wild. They had a great quarterback, Grant Gregory, which in my book will still go down as the best quarterback in Athens high school history. And that's in my opinion. And, Ryan Mingus, Chris Hewitt, great team. And it was funny because me and James Haggerty, he was a freshman at the time. Athens scored a touchdown, and we go back to return the kick. Athens had this cannon, and it went off, touchdown. And we look behind us and, whatever, shake it off, and there's smoke coming from the cannon. Well, next thing you know, before they kick the ball off, here comes this cloud of smoke, which we thought from the cannon. We're like, no way, no way the smoke is just covering the field. Next thing you know, about 5 plays later, man, the whole field was covered in fog. And literally the furthest you can probably see is probably from a little bit inside the hash to the closest sideline. And, Athens was a passing team. And luckily we had the go ahead. We were ahead, and they were still passing. So Grant was throwing nice little out routes and such. And next thing you know, I'm playing corner. They throw a little out route on my side, and I wrap the guy up, and I see our safety, Tommy Bowes, coming down to lay the hit on him. And I just went for the strip the ball. And again, it's on our sideline. Strip the ball, pick it up, and go however many yards down the sideline, basically in a very, very light jog, because nobody had a clue except for the ref and our sideline. And even our fans barely even had a visual of what was going on. And to this day, if I'd ever talked to, I can't even remember the receiver's name at this time, but he swears up and down that he was tackled to the ground. But to my memory, I don't even think he touched the ground. I stripped it, and Tommy Bowes didn't even tackle him. So, but yeah, crazy game, man. And, I think that'll go down in one of Gallia Academy's history books right there, with just the way the fog played out in that game.
Yeah, that was certainly one of my favorite plays of yours from your senior year. Another one that I really loved from your Gallia Academy days was the run. You had it was either like a 60 or 70 yard TD run against the Logan Chieftains, and you just took off right through the middle of the damn defense and ran for a touchdown. I mean, it was awesome to watch, man. Walk me through that TD run.
Oh my goodness, man. That was another one. That's the zone, man. Just in the zone. And I'll kind of go back a little bit. When you're in the zone, it truly is you don't remember it so much at the time. But then if you reflect on it after the game, you're like, oh man, what in the world just happened? It's almost like you're in a dream, and then all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, oh no, that was reality. But that game, I mean, we were just going for prayer, because we were 60 so yards or so away from trying to get in before the half, and I dropped back and had a little pressure. And my buddy Steve Kenny, I mean, he was an O-lineman. It's funny that he was an O-lineman because he was about, probably 185, 195, and still could run, I'd say a 4.9 at that time, maybe even faster than that. But the hardest working kid we had probably on our team. And he led the way, set up a block, man. I made a couple people miss. And then, again, the young freshman, the Gallia great, James Haggerty, got my way. And actually, only person that touched me was him. And he was on my team, and he was just going to lay a crack back, and we ran into each other and walk in the end zone, man. And that will, honestly, I'll go down as one of my favorite games, man, I've ever played in, just because we were 8-1, but if we'd have lost that game, we probably were out of the playoffs. So that set the tone for us getting into the playoffs at 9-1.
Yeah, that was just such a fun game, man. I still remember those highlights being edited in the editing bay at WUB for when you were the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. And I just remember vividly watching the highlights of that Logan game up on the screen, man. It was mesmerizing. And watching the highlight tape get put together for that. I mean, it was just awesome watching all your highlights, man. Honestly, one of the better players I've ever gotten to watch. And, we've gotten to talk a lot of college football over the years, and it's pretty cool to talk to a college football diehard like yourself. Speaking of which, Donnie, talk to me about your college recruitment process. Once you came out of Gallia Academy and you were being looked at by colleges, I, for one, was really surprised that you did not get more college attention, especially for the Division I level. You were such an exceptional athlete. Talk to us a little bit about your college recruitment process coming out of high school.
Yeah. So, going into my senior year, it was heavy, man. I got, still to this day, my mom has letters of, all these letters I received. Indiana was really heavy. West Virginia. Took an official visit actually to West Virginia. Marshall, OU, Ball State, Miami of Ohio. Even got some letters from UCLA, Stanford. just some big time schools, Illinois and even Florida, which was very surprising. But it was very exciting, and going into my senior year, and at that point in time, the MAC schools were really heavy. Obviously Marshall, OU in the backyard, and Grant Gregory's dad, again, his dad was on the staff at OU at the time, and so a little connection there. But and Ball State was heavy. That's when Coach Brady Hoke was there, and went through that process, and had some offers. I actually had offers from Ball State, Marshall, and OU, and that were in the works there. Especially the OU one was in the works, and coming out of that, for me, I always worked hard, did things the right way, but standardized testing, man, was just a Achilles heel for me. And I didn't know, like, I can study for things that are actually on the test, but studying for something on concepts in that magnitude was just a blind, like, it was really a challenge for me at that point in time. And so with that, I didn't get the ACT test scores. And so at that point in time, let's say that was early on junior year, going into senior year, still no test scores. And to my own fault, and I tell this to the kids I speak to all the time, I showed up the very first time my junior year taking a test, and I circled C for every single answer. It was a Friday. It was a Saturday morning after Friday night game, and I think we played at Marietta. And that's a 2.5 hour bus ride back home, and I didn't take it serious, and definitely regretted that. Definitely early on in my college career, like, man, you know what, I could have been at these different places. But all in all, what ended up happening, we get the basketball season my senior year, and at this point in time, I'm leaning towards Ball State. I got an old teammate that's at Ball State, loved it there, took official visits there, and loved the program. Ended up, I'm at basketball practice, come home, and there's a car in the driveway, go inside, and it's my recruiting coach, the running backs coach. And he's there, and actually was just close enough in town that he stopped by and actually told me in person that they were pulling my scholarship because they got a kid in Florida with the same athletic ability, but had the ACT score. And so they pulled my offer. And next thing you know, about a week or two later, here comes OU. Coach Gregory just got let go from the OU staff, and the head coach comes in. And he comes and talks to one of our O-linemen, Ben Doolittle, which he was an engineering guy. So he was clear, free and clear, grade-wise, and basically offered us walk-on spot. And I was like, well, I'm not walking on. And then Marshall ends up pulling out. So at that point in time, man, it was just like, whoa, reality sunk in. And the guy I told you about earlier, Steve Kinney, was looking at coming up to Tiffin. And next thing you know, a guy by the name of Paul Smith, he's from the Chesapeake area, and ended up heard my name around the buzz, and ended up called me. Next thing you know, I'm up in Tiffin. I left Gallup Bliss, and I grew up in Bidwell, so that's where I lived. So grew up in Bidwell, and left Bidwell in long sleeve t-shirt and shorts, man. It was like 70 degrees or so. Get up to Tiffin, and it's nothing but ice. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And, yeah, so it was crazy, man. And I approached it with a very open eye and just said, you know what, hey, this is what it is right now. So, you gotta take advantage of what opportunities you have in front of you. And that was the opportunity in front of me at the time. And they made me an offer, and it turned out to be the best.
I got lucky. I found some of your highlights from Tiffin on YouTube. I was really surprised. The quality is just horrible, but
terrible.
I could make out some of the plays. I tell you, one of the most amazing parts of those highlights, and I text you about this, the fact that one, You played a whole season on a partially torn PCL. That's crazy. One of the plays that I love the most, and I want to hear you talk about this one. There's a play on that highlight film where it's about a 20-yard TD run where you take it down the left side and you make a huge dive towards the end zone. I want you to walk me towards that play in particular.
Yeah, well, I think there was a couple that year. So I'm not. Was we home or away? Were we in dark jerseys or light jerseys?
That's a good question. It's tough to know. You made like a pylon dive. You were basically really close to the out of bounds. You were really close to being out of bounds, but you dove. You went midair. Outside.
Yeah, there's two I can remember, and they're probably in my top 5 of plays from college. There's one we're playing Missouri Rolla, first game of the season, and basically our coach Dave Painter, he was our offensive coordinator, and owe a lot of my football knowledge to him. And great coach, and he said if we don't run for over 250 yards on, I can't even name what he called them, but if we didn't run over 250 yards rushing, we were soft. And so we demolished them. I think I got National Player of the Year, Division II, or Player of the Week that week, Division II, and ran for like 189 yards or something like that. But it was a 56. I remember it clear as day. It's 56. So it's a halfback read option. So they counter out. Running back lines up to the right, and he does a little step in, and he's just going to follow the tackle up and in on the pulling tackle. And I read the end. And so I read the defensive end. He bites down. I pull it, man, and I just take off around the left side. And, Dashawn, I think, was on that side and made a great block. And next thing you know, here comes safety in pursuit, man. And it's like, hey, and back in that time, anywhere from 2002 to 2000, probably 10, the Reggie Bush era was heavy. So diving in the end zone, just making that leap into it for the pylon was the thing. And I'm like, all right, there's people in front of me. And we used to just play around and see how far away that you can jump to get into the end zone. So for me, I knew I was good. If I got a half step inside of 5 yards, man, I'm getting in. And so that's what I did, man. I took off and got hit in midair. And next thing you know, black out for that half a second. And you wake up, you see the arms of the referee raise his hands, touchdown. So that's one. The other one was against Central State. And it was I dropped back on a passing play, got nothing, scramble, take off, and dive for the pylon again. And that one, not a full helicopter, but got hit in midair, and it actually propelled me higher. And actually
Jesus,
I got a personal foul on that one because I got up and turned to look at the ref while I'm running towards the sideline and run into a guy that's running across my face, and they flagged me for a personal foul. And I tell you what, that game was fun, man. They talked a lot of shit, and it was fun to put it to them.
That's funny. What were they saying to you when they were talking shit?
That I was trash. I mean, that I wasn't shit. I come from the country, and y'all ain't shit. Because Central State was a HBCU, or is a HBCU. So
is that a HBCU in Ohio, Donnie?
That is correct. Outside of Dayton.
Okay.
And they had a running back, man, something Moss, but that dude was a monster. And but it, they were just talking, man, talking shit. And even in high school, man, you can ask anybody I played against, anybody I played with. I wasn't one for talking shit. As soon as you talk shit to me, and if I start talking back, you're in trouble. As soon as I start talking shit, you're in trouble. And it's funny because nowadays that's all I do is talk shit, and I can't even back it up anymore. So it's just kind of funny how the tides have turned.
I'm curious, Donnie, with all the football movies, like with the program and everything and Varsity Blues, was there any sort of epic speech that you gave to the guys in the huddle of just like, all right, boys, Let's put the women and children to bed and go looking for fucking dinner. Ready, break.
Actually, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about it the other day. I had a group chat with my buddies, and that's one I always said. And then I look back on it like, man, I was corny as hell for saying that. Like, corny. But, you know, honestly, I mean, it was business. Like, the very first play of a game, I'd come out and say something. I'd try to joke around, just calm everybody's nerves. Because I always got my nerves out in pregame. I always told the safety, especially my senior year, Andrew Minocchio was the safety. And, you know, you run a little one-on-one, just getting the speed action there. And I always told him, hey, let's head up. I don't care if I have the ball or not. Let's head up. And that got my nerves out. I just had to get hit the first time to get my nerves out. But so my nerves were always out, and I was always the guy that was smiling, man. I just played the game because I loved it. And, you know, I smiled during it because I knew I already put the work in and was prepared. And so, yeah, no real crazy speeches, but, you know, the guy, we had some guys, obviously every team has that guy that can just give a speech that you don't even know what they really say, but it just gets you pumped up. And we had a guy, Deuce. He's a rapper now. And it was then, he was rapping a little bit then, but that dude can put some words together, man. And he can have you out there running through a brick wall.
I'm curious, Donnie, who hit you the hardest during your football career? Let's hear about your hardest hits that you got hit.
Man. So two people come to mind. One in high school, dude's name was Chris Brown from Columbus DeSalle. And they had a team. I don't know how they didn't win state that year.
Yeah, that team was really good, man. I know they put a whooping on you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, they sure did, man. That was one I'll never forget. And I still have issues from that hit to this day. I ran a little out route just to get the first down. It was about 5-6 yards. Thought I'm clear. I run a little out route. I'm at receiver at this point. I kind of give a glance upfield like, okay, I'm clear. Man, I turn, catch the ball, go to turn upfield, and whack, get hit straight in the jaw. My chin strap unbuckles. I go straight to our sideline, and then I hide behind some people and go down to a knee, man, and my jaw was just jacked up, like it was dislocated. And popped it back in, went back in. To this day, it's just jacked up. I mean, it doesn't cause major issues, but, you know, it's just issues. But, and then the hardest probably I've ever been hit, which is crazy because you think of the hardest hits ever, you would think that they're the ones that hurt the worst. But the hardest I've ever been hit, like embarrassing hit where the whole crowd just goes, ooh, it was Ola Adams from Concord University, man. And that dude was a soul taker. Like, this dude was smart. He's actually the defense coordinator at Villanova right now. And great guy, very knowledgeable in football. And we ran a speed option. He came from the safety position, opposite side safety, because our game plan was to run away from him. So if he was on the strong side where we were running, we actually automatically just checked over to the opposite side. That's how dangerous he was as safety. And he traced the option. It got strung out a little bit, and I go to turn upfield, and he just met me right in the hole, man. And just hardest I've ever been hit. It was one that you can shake off just because adrenaline's still pumping, but it was felt, man.
Ola Adams, huh?
Yeah, he's a great dude, man. Great dude. He's done some great things in his career as far as coaching, playing. He was that dude at safety. He was that guy, about 6'1", probably played about 205, and just had a knack for finding the football, whether it was tackling or intercepting.
Donnie, you got to go on. I remember seeing all your pictures of all these different college football stadiums, like over the past few years. I was just like, how the hell is Donnie getting to go to all these stadiums? You literally went to like every college football stadium in the country. I want to hear about your travels to all these different college football stadiums and which one of them like were your favorite. I mean, there weren't any fans in the stadium, so we'll make sure we know that. But yeah. I want to hear about which ones were your favorites.
I get to travel to all these big schools. And so with that, my philosophy is, hey, when I get free time, I'm traveling to the stadium. And one of my best friends from college, Orville Jennings, he worked as like the game day facilities management. He's been at Wake Forest, Central Michigan. Now he's at Colorado. And he always says, he's like, it's my nightmare that there's always a door that somebody can get in. And so I kind of took that to heart, like, okay. And so what I do, these stadiums, and, I'm dressed in work attire, button-up shirt. And I just literally go and find the door that's open, even if it's an office door into the stadium. Or I'll just go up and ask somebody, hey, is there any way I can get to the stadium to, just see the field? And they are very just open to letting me go in. Or I just find the door that's open and just walk in. I'll pass, where was I? I was at Texas A&M and passed the AD and didn't realize it was the AD until later, and kind of looked at me again. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And just kept walking. Next thing you know, I'm on the field. And so,
hey, yeah. I'm going to the football field. See you later.
Yeah. And I was in the stadium. Like I was in the stadium where I shouldn't be. And, but you just find a door, walk like you own the place or know where you're going. But it is funny. When I was at Baylor, the basketball arena, it was locked. And I just literally pulled on the door just a little bit and it came open. I'm like, what the heck? And next thing you know, I'm in the office of the basketball coaches. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just trying to get to the court. And they're like, oh, yeah, go this way, that way. So, when I get free time, man, I love seeing stadiums. Ever since I was little, I'd see the football stadium lights in the sky as we're driving. And I'd always ask my parents, hey, can we drive by just so I can get a visual of the stadium? And I just got fascination with the architecture of the stadiums and seeing what they look like, how they're built, how they're shaped around, how's the seating fit around the field. I personally love, stadiums that sit right on top of the sideline without the space. I love that myself. And so it's just fascination of mine, man. So every school I go to, I either ask or I just find a way to get in. And, I just literally walk in, see the place, snap a couple pictures and get out. So I'd say my favorite one, without being biased, if I was biased, I'd say Ohio State, but without being biased, man, honestly, my favorite stadium that I've been into it has to be Texas A&M. That place was just, it sits right on top of you and it just stacks so high that, I can just only imagine, when Johnny Football was there, the sound that came out from the stadium just onto the field and how loud it could get. But that stadium is really nice. I've seen Jimbo Fisher there the last time I was at A&M and ran into a lot of players because their workout facility is right next to the stadium, but they actually have to walk out of the locker room, out of the doors, and actually walk to the workout facility. And it's a short walk, but I've seen them all, and Jimbo Fisher's walking out, walking right in. And so it's just neat to see all these different places, man.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher, he kind of made a little convenient jump from Florida State to Texas A&M.
Yeah, he sure did.
I don't even necessarily know when the point was of Florida State's offensive line going downhill, but Jimbo Fisher saw the talent deteriorating, jumped ship for a lot of money. And, I don't know. I'm not really a huge Jimbo Fisher fan. It is funny to me. Jimbo Fisher will go to his grave defending Jameis Winston. And I'll forever respect him for it in some ways because, he and Jameis would get in such fights at Florida State right in the middle of the game, like Jim. And not only that, Jameis went through everything that he went through with the sexual assault scandal. And Jimbo Fisher, literally, Jameis Winston could have set Jimbo's house on fire. And Jimbo Fisher would have said, Jameis Winston is the greatest human being alive, yeah. He supported him through thick and thin. And, I respect him a lot for that in a lot of ways, but he's a salesman,
Yeah. But again, Wade, as a player, though, I mean, If that's the kind of coach that's through thick and thin, it's a gift and a curse, right? I mean, if you got a coach like that will ride or die for you, no matter how much wrong you do. A lot of guys that know they're doing wrong, like, love it because they know they can mess up and still have that security back there. But then on the other end of it, it's dangerous because then all of a sudden you got somebody that knows they're doing wrong but continues to do it instead of toe the line, so to say, for the program's sake. So it's a gift and a curse, but I mean, yeah, if you got a guy like that, man, love to play for him just because he's got your back. But the bad part is how much is he going to have his back to ruin his own reputation or even the school's reputation?
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, I want to talk about one thing I've been talking to all the athletes about, at least most of them. And this is something I'm going to make a point for all the athletes on this podcast. I want to talk about player compensation in the NCAAs, Donnie. I want to talk about, I get it. All these coaches, they deserve to be compensated. All right. I get it. They spend a ton of time, 24/7, 365. I get it. But the fact that these players are starving, like these players deserve at least $3,000 minimum a month to me so they could pay their rent, bills, gas, et cetera, for how much money they're bringing into the university. Not only that, the players for major college football and college basketball programs they're the economic engine that drives the whole athletic department. So they deserve to be compensated for it straight up. So I want to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah. So I'll just start off by saying I think players should get compensated based upon their likeness, especially big time universities. But I think the hard part, and that goes for all sports, whether that's women's sports, men's sports, soccer, football, the whole nine. But I think the hard part is I don't think it will ever come to a head just because how do you regulate it? And then if you figure out a way to regulate it, then what the hell happens when it's no different than boosters now? You got boosters paying people. You got, agents coming in, paying kids under the table, stuff like that already happening now, even though they were not getting paid. So now you're paying, I'll use your example, $3,000. So somebody's getting $3,000, but then you got Joe Burrow, Heisman Trophy frontrunner, now getting paid $10,000 under the table by somebody else. And so that's, I think, how do you regulate it is the challenge. But I'm fully for students getting paid, student athletes getting paid. And the people who fight against it, I think a lot of the unknowledgeable people who fight against it have no idea, because the first thing they say is education. You're getting your education free. Well, so is that person who got a 4.0, and they can still go work after they take classes and make money and have no stipulations. And then, the other side of it is, too, they say, well, there's just a lot of different excuses on why a regular student can and why I can't as a student athlete. So, but it's just a challenge, the challenge of regulating it. But a student athlete is making so much money for the university. 100,000 people are showing up to a game to watch,
Ohio State and Michigan.
Ohio State, 100,000 people showing up to a game and paying overpriced for a ticket to watch let's call it a 20-year-old play a sport. Now he's a student athlete. But then after the game, has to get in his beater, 1998, Toyota Corolla, and can barely get home. And what? Oh, because he's on, a free ride. But then you look at the student who got a 4.0 free ride, they're at least able to go out and get a car because guess what? They're working. They're able to go to work. And the amount of time that student athletes put into their craft and school, because they have to maintain a GPA to be eligible. So they're doing that plus more. You're putting in what? I think the regulations are 40 hours a week to
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Student athlete in front of the coaches. But in order to perform with the pressure of performing at a high level at a big time university, and you don't have time to sleep. People don't get that your day starts 5:30 in the morning. and you don't end your day until what, midnight or later, and that's with weight. Then you go to class, or weight. Then you go to mandatory food session. Then you go to class, and then in between class, you're going to go to weight. After weight, you're going to meetings. Then you're going to practice. After that, you got study tables. Then after that, you're doing the extra homework just to get stuff done. So you don't have time to be a friend. You don't have time to be, out here with a job, so to say. So, there's got to be some compensation considering the fact that universities are making millions of dollars off of athletes. And, what does that look like? I mean, that's not fair either. And, let's take somebody that, is junior year, they stayed another year, don't take out an insurance policy and should be a first round draft pick, blows his knee out. Now they fall to what, fourth, fifth round, or let's say their career's ended. Now what the hell? Like, so you mean that University X made millions of dollars off of this kid because he was a star quarterback at a university, and because he got an unlucky injury, you made all this money off of him and sold this many jerseys off of him, and now he can't be compensated for it when he was in his prime? So I think it's a tough one, man. I hope there's a way that they can regulate it to make it go into play. I'm for it. I'm all for it. I've always said I'm for it. My only concern is how do they regulate it?
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the regulations brings me to my next question. With the endorsements coming into play, whenever sports come back, we want to talk about endorsements. Want to hear your thoughts on endorsements. This is truly going to be like the Wild West. Zach Smith talked about this on his podcast, Menace to Society. The big thing with endorsements is it's going to be very much like the agents pursuing guys in college, except you're going to see agents pursuing kids in middle school and high school, especially the top guys. Like it's really going to be nuts. You're talking about, high school freshmen getting messages from agents and getting Instagram and Facebook messages. It's really going to be like the Wild West, Donnie. It's going to get messy. And I do think that endorsements are good. And I think players should definitely make money off their likeness, but the key question with all of this is going to be like, how in the world are you going to regulate the agent recruitment process? Because that with the NFL draft is absolutely insane. So you can only imagine a high school kid dealing with that.
Yeah, well, think about now. That's in play already with AAU basketball. And don't get me wrong, I love AAU basketball. But you think about it now, Zion Williamson, who did he sign with? I think he signed with Nike, or he signed with Jordan. But think about the influence he had with playing with the team, I want to say in AAU ball, that was Adidas. Like, think about that influence. And there's some documentaries out there. My buddy I work with, Shad, man, he knows all these documentaries but it is, let's say you go with Under Armour in the Under Armour circuit in AAU basketball. Who do you think has the influence? Who do you think seeing you every weekend you go play in the tournament? Under Armour rep. And, if you're the LeBron James of that class, everybody knows, Imani Bates right now is what, number 2 player, number 1 player in 2021.
Oh yeah, he's incredible, man. 2022. He might reclassify though, which
correct.
He'll probably reclassify and then he'll probably jump to the NBA.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, and then with that reclassification stuff that's going on now, that you're out there. Like these kids now are out there a lot earlier than before. I mean, you look at the freshman Mikey Williams. I mean, this kid's a freshman and he's everywhere. And with the likeness of social media, I mean, you're an influencer as a 9th grader, all because you played on LeBron's team and you have basketball skills. So, I mean, what do you think? Like, you're going to be getting free shoes left and right. I mean, you go to the Nike circuit, Peach Jam. You go to Peach Jam, you get a whole wardrobe full of clothes. So, there's really nothing yet like that in football unless you go to the Nike elite camps and then you get probably, laced out with some deals. But the endorsements and stuff like that is going to start to become very, very big. And look at it from a perspective of, I'm sitting here, I got the MLS game on right now, but I'm just going to throw out Heineken. What if Heineken wants to just start endorsing a high school student athlete? So how's that playing effect? This has nothing to do with sports other than they're the major sponsor for MLS. Are they able to get their parents free beer? You know, Audi's one of them up there. Are they able to get their parents a Audi to travel to and from work? I don't know. I think it's going to be the wild, wild west for sure. And there's going to be a lot of ups and downs with this thing, or even a lot more students that are top priority student athletes right now in high school that may start to forego college at an earlier age, or even high school athletics. And you might start to see, especially when you add COVID into it, you may start to see AAU be the new norm for high school basketball during the winter instead of kids playing for their high school.
Yeah, you might be right, Donnie.
Think about that.
Yeah. What do you think about, what are your thoughts on kids jumping straight to the G League, Donnie?
I like it. I mean, I'm all for it. It's no different than, in our era, kids still, we can still go to the NBA straight out of high school. And, I understand there's way more people that are in touch now, or way more accessible for resources for these parents and high school student athletes to be successful. There's no reason why kids nowadays cannot go straight to the NBA, straight out of high school. I think back in our day, social media wasn't very heavy. You didn't have accessibility to all these different people to make you successful. But now you do. And so, and if you want to get back into it, it's one of those things. Okay, so you care about a student athlete getting their education, but you make them go to school for 1 year. For what? I'm Zion Williamson. I'm going to school for 1 year. My whole thing, and you play basketball. You show up to school for one semester and get all C's because you get a 2.0, you're eligible, or whatever that stipulation is. You're eligible. Once you're eligible, I don't even give a damn about second semester because that's basketball season 1, and I'm already eligible to play the entire season. So why should I even go to class? And if you watch the documentary on Ben Simmons, and that's exactly what he said. He's like, my aspirations growing up in Australia were never to play in college. It was to play in the NBA. So why? And that was the reason he got suspended in a couple games.
Yeah, that's what he told the coach.
Yeah, but it's true. Why waste his time when he can go? Especially if you're a gym rat. Why would I waste my time going to class when I can be in the gym getting better in order to get that number 1 draft pick that then sets me up to be successful with my family?
Yeah.
Or
I agree.
Do I go
Donnie.
to class for what? But I think some kids need it. Some kids need to go. Some kids need to go to school. Some kids need it to mature and grow up. Football, I don't think we'll ever get there. And I don't think we should get there yet. I think that 2-year rule, 2-3-year rule is still good for football. I mean, I can just only imagine me coming out of, high school or college. Yeah, coming out of high school and running into Ray Lewis. Get out of here.
Donnie, one big thing I got to talk to you about. I got to get this on the record so everyone knows about this. We talked extensively about the 2011 LSU Tiger football team, and I will never forget watching LSU football in the spring. After their spring game, Les Miles gave Jordan Jefferson a Most Improved award after he threw a couple of interceptions in the spring game. And I remember telling you on the phone that Les Miles' loyalty to Jordan Jefferson was going to ruin LSU. And sure enough, it came back to bite him in the national title game.
Man, oh man. Yeah, we talked about that years ago, man, and that was crazy. Hey, that's why Les Miles is at Kansas. I think that's all I can say. But yeah, I don't get it, but they did. They went under until Joey Burrow, Mr. Southeast Ohio man, brought him back. So I don't get it, Les. I don't have words for that, man. It's that's one of those, we spoke on that years ago, man. I don't really know what else to say anymore.
Les Miles' loyalty to Jordan Jefferson, it was one of the most confusing things. You could tell he had a real soft spot for him. And it just kind of blew my mind throughout the whole, like, that team was that was the best college football secondary I've ever seen in my life. Let's go ahead and let the record know that secondary was so incredible with all the guys they had. Eric Reed, like, Jesus, that defense was so good. And the funny thing is, they beat Alabama in the regular season and they get to that national title game. And I've never seen Les Miles coach like such a bitch. God, for a guy that was so well known for taking risks, he coached like such a pussy in that national title game. He literally would not let Jordan Jefferson or Jarrett Lee throw the ball down the field. It was so sad. And I can only imagine how LSU fans feel about that game. Like, you at least have to throw the ball down the field. Like, I get it. Alabama's defense was incredible. I understand that you're scared to throw the ball down the field, but guess what? You're not going to go anywhere if you just check down the whole time. Like, it was sad to watch, dude, because that LSU team was truly one of the best college football teams of all time. And it kills me, man, because that secondary was so good.
Yeah, and it is. It's hard to believe. But, I think scheme-wise, hey, make them check it down. If you're not going to throw it deep, make them check it down. And rally in front. And that's what happened. And the secondary, now gets credit from the football junkies, but not the public, in a sense, due to not winning the national championship.
Listening to the Flow Theory Podcast. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and TuneIn.